All right, welcome to flexibility class. Tonight's a specialty where we use a lot of different modalities and methods to make the body release tension, get a little bit more range of motion, and just soften up tight muscles. All right, so let's do a nice grounding position to start. We are going to do a nice dynamic warm up. It's always suggested to have a nice warm up, whether you're strengthening or stretching. So nice kind of start. If you want to just lay on your back, that's fine. If you want to take a block behind you or two blocks, if you don't have a block here, totally fine to use like a pillow right here or a bolster, kind of throw pillow or a rolled up kind of yoga blanket, beach towel. And I just kind of have that block. You know this one, right? The supported or restorative fish. Block under the head if you need that second block. Notice for more opening in the front, I keep bringing the block lower under the head. All right, so my legs can go wide. So a grounding position to start, right? We want to center here. We want to remember our goal is self-awareness and that concentration, presence. If you want a little bit more for your legs, you bring the soles of the feet together, knees open. But just notice I'm adjusting. You see the block there? Underneath my upper back. You can see the arch in my lower back. There's a lot of space there. It's not under my lower back. Okay, you can bring your arms nice and wide. This is a lot. We're often bringing the arms wide here, guys, kind of behind us, kind of like a postural correction position, okay? So you're comfortable here, you're relaxed. If you don't have blocks or pillows, you're just kind of on your back like that. All right, same thing. Or some middle ground is with a bolster or a blanket. Kind of like this, right? So how about we hang here for a few minutes to start practice. What we're going to do is take this for a few minutes, then we're going to do some nice moving and breathing, light stuff to get a lot of blood flowing. You could call it dynamic stretching, okay, or dynamic warm-up. And then we're going to do some passive, more static stretching. So nice variety tonight for you guys, okay? So close your eyes here. Maybe take a nice deep inhale in your nose and sigh out the mouth. Deep inhale in your nose. Deep exhale. Or just take a few more like that. It's kind of I like to describe it as you take time to arrive into your practice. Remember that yoga means union, or this comes from this word yoke, the idea of like the yoke of the connection between like a cart and the oxen, the yoke. It's this idea of union, this connection. And what it represents here is the consciousness connecting or uniting with the physical body, with the present moment, with the energy, with the breath, with our thoughts. If you want to go deeper, many with the spirit or every layer of the self, really. There's so many different levels of how yoga can be defined. All right, so if you're just joining, we're on the back, guys, okay? So we're taking a supported pose just to kind of ground and center, right? So they call it supported fish. If you don't have props, you just lay on your back. Shavasana, a little bit more is here, arms here. If you have a block or a bolster, you could do something like this to start. Just giving you some options. You want a bigger stretcher here. Head could go on a block or a pillow if you got one block, okay? And I suggested maybe inner thighs open. So let's take another minute or two. Deep breathing, relaxing to start practice and meditation. Just taking a nice couple deep breaths if you're joining in a reclining posture of your choice. I have a block under my chest if you can't see it. Hips are on the floor, knees are wide to let those inner thighs stretch. So even though we're grounding and centering, we're getting a nice big opening. Right. So remember, yogis, this class is mixed level. Okay, and I do like to do, last week we did active stretching, I believe, and then we did yin, and this is kind of in between that. There is going to be a little active, but nice dose of the passive. So many paths to the road to flexibility and a free body. So everything we do is at your pace. You want to hold postures, movements, stretches longer, beautiful. If you want to change them up a little, be creative, be personal. I mentioned that yoga means union, this idea of connection. And the yogis say one of the highest levels is connection to the spirit, right? This inner voice, the eternal self that's always with us, guiding us. And that is the real leader of the practice. The voice within, the intuition, the heart, whatever you want to call it. All right, let's take a big inhale. And big exhale. And if your head's back, if you want to hold a little longer, some of you just came in a little after we started, you can lift your head, then you tense your neck. Use your hands to bring your thighs back together, maybe. Use your elbows and core to kind of sit up here. And we'll remove the props. We're going to meet laying on our back for our dynamic warm-up. All right, guys? So you're going to meet laying on your back. And then you're going to just start here, kind of bringing your knees into your chest. So nice and simply put, dynamic could be just said as a moving warm-up. So I want you to think moving the body to increase blood flow, heat in the body too, right? I'm drawing circles to massage my back. I'll give you about 30 seconds just for these kind of really subtle movements. All right, so you draw circles here. You can even bend and straighten your legs, kind of point and flex, roll your ankles. You see how I suggest a lot of things? Most of you are regulars, but you know, if you're kind of new to my class, I try to put a lot of responsibility on you to listen to yourself, all right? Now I'm drawing circles with the knees kind of independently, and that's more of like a hip joint exercise, where the first one was more of like a sacral massage, okay? And I'm drawing circles with my knees, and then my last suggestion here in this first little part is where I knock my knees side to side. And that's, again, more like your hip. You can feel that tug start to happen around the waist. So it's a big rotational movement for the hips, okay? All right, guys, so we're thinking moving warm-up. I'm going to keep going. You're just moving through this process on your own, okay? We're going to start with our first big active full body stretch. Take a nice big inhale. Notice I'm moving a little bit. I'm just kind of feeling out my body, looking for those in-between spots. And then to start, I'm going to bring my right knee to my chest, squeeze it toward the right armpit. Not going to really hold too long, though, okay? I'm going to slowly inhale. Notice I did pause because I want to be patient and feel everything. Left knee exhale to left shoulder, okay? And then inhale. Now both knees come in. Exhale, go slow, knees in. You can even squeeze your forehead to your knees if that feels good here, okay? And we're just gonna kind of continue this about 3 or 4 more times through. The inhale is always this full body lengthening, okay? The exhale starts by bringing right knee in. And then you inhale back to that full body, double-sided stretch. Exhale, left knee comes in. Okay, inhale, body stretches. Exhale, both knees come in. Maybe even tuck the chin a little bit. Okay, inhale, full body stretch. Exhale, right knee in. Inhale, full body stretch. And notice I'm using the breath to really create the stretch. And then exhale. That left knee in, and then proceed to your double knee, and see if you can go 2 to 3 more times. I know this is very simple. It's kind of like child pose, bringing that knee toward the shoulder. Some of you are doing it a little faster. That's totally fine too, to move a little faster, but let's keep it mindful. When some of you are going so slow, it doesn't look like you're moving, but All right, so we're on our back here and we're doing this alternating meditative knee into the chest. So we're on our back, we take a full body stretch on the inhale, and then on our back, we exhale, right knee in. We inhale, arms back, and stretch it out, and then we exhale, left knee in. All right, and then you inhale, back, and then you exhale, both knees in. Okay. It's actually, tricky because it's almost like a lunge, right? It's almost like you inhale, stand up in like a vinyasa, and then you exhale, you're kind of like almost in like a lunge. You're just like that. So it's stuff you do all the time in yoga, just in like a much more restorative, passive form. Okay. All right, guys. So we're going to go into that next warm-up exercise. So we're going to meet with our knees into our chest. Now, this seems simple, but it is kind of a big exercise here. We're going to roll kind of onto our right side with both knees stacked. I would suggest it's nice if you have a bolster to throw between your thighs here. You're here, okay? That's really nice. And notice my head, it's kind of crooked here. I want you to be comfortable here. It looks like this. Inhale, left arm up and open. I even look to the left a little bit. Exhale here. And now we're twisting from the core, yogis. As I inhale, my left kind of ribs, the shoulder, arm come down. I want to reach up and away at that point, over to that left. Exhale, okay? So if you want one more quick demo, let me show you from here. So you guys are like this on your back, right? And then watch, I go like this, and then I reach up and away. Then I exhale here, okay? Inhale, you're doing it on your back so it's kind of more passive and easy, okay? And again, I do like that pillow between the thighs, because it's early in class. It's a big movement. All right, and then you're going to go slow. We're just going to switch sides. So I'm not going to have you hold that stretch. You are going to come back to center, knees left, arms out to the left shoulder on top of right. Inhale. Now again, look at how I go open, but then I take a moment to kind of reach away. Right hand reaches away from right knee. Yeah, and then I exhale, close it. Okay, inhale. Well, that big breath, you should feel the breath helping the stretch, okay? And then as the yogis would say, this is called dynamic meditations, they call it, where vinyasa, walking, becomes a meditative process. Self-awareness, internal presence, mindful movement, many kind of names for this process of enhancing the quality, the skill, the subtle movements and intention. So again, if you're just like that. Or inhale. Now again, you do 6, 12, maybe 15, depends on how it feels, right? We're gonna come back to center. Next dynamic movement is kind of similar, guys. I want you to bring your arms like this. So you're on your back and your arms are like field goal posts. If you know the field goals from football. Now my left knee is gonna kind of cross my body and go toward my right elbow. Now it's not gonna go all the way there, okay? And then I'm going to exhale back to center. Neutral, legs forward. Right knee toward left elbow. Notice I don't roll to the side though. Both arms, back stays down. Back to center. Left knee, right elbow. And across. So both arms are bent. And then the bent knee goes to the bent arm. So on your back, you're like this, just because sometimes it's hard to see. So if my wall was the floor, it looks like this. I'm taking the opposite leg in toward my chest, but mostly across the body up towards that outer left arm. So the right knee to left arm. Does everyone get it? We've done this one once before. It's been a while. It's a really nice movement though. Rather than just always kind of holding twists, which we will, we're moving kind of through that space. All right, guys, so I want one little last warm up here. It's basically just like a bridge. Bridge is so good for activating the back of the butt and some of the hamstrings. So we just want to tighten all that stuff up we just did because it was a lot of twisting. And then the forward flexion here. The knees are going to slope, the hands are going to press down, feet are going to press down, and then let's lift the hips. You know, you can go up and down a few times if that feels good of articulating the spinal column. You know, remember we've gone over in detail many times the pelvic tilt here, how I kind of arch my back, subtle, relax. I press my lower back down, and with my core, I kind of lift my pubic bone and pelvis, and then I press to those feet and lift up, right? So there's that more detailed movement and articulation through pelvic tilt and spinal column. We're not just kind of like a stiff board going up and down, okay? Last few, if you're going up and down, last breath or two. If you're holding, all right, guys, hopefully you got a nice, you can feel that back body turning on. We're gonna slowly meet knees into the chest. We're gonna rock forward and back. Take a few breaths, rock forward and back. We're gonna make our way up. Eventually meeting in tabletop, taking that nice cat-cow to get some free movement through the spinal column now. Inhale, arching the back, lifting the chin, cow, and then exhale for the cat. Such a nice movement here. You know this one. So fundamental, but so powerful, really. And then our next movement after a few cat-cows would be a little bit more circling of the hips. I'm just going through a few things now, guys. This is the end of our, we're going to do one or two more movements, and then we're going to really be a lot more still, okay? So you're just circling your hips here. So I'm not going forward and back anymore. I'm kind of outside that. And then the next movement would be, if you'd like, the right leg can go up just for like 2 to 3 times, a nice hip circle. As you can see, I really like to warm up the core and the core and the hips, primarily at pelvic tilt. We already did a ton of shoulders, right? We did horizontal abduction. We did arms here and here, okay? So we did forward and back. We did wide. Now, right knee goes down, left knee lifts. Again, you could roll out your ankle and just circle your hip. It's just flexibility class, yogis. So we're trying to like just move the body in a lot of ways without weight to kind of get blood flow and through areas it's lacking and break down that fascial kind of density that might be building, okay? And then the last thing here, guys, would be down dog. We'll take a few breaths here. One of my favorite ways to just simply stretch your calves and your toes. So I am using this to get into the calf. So the lower part of your back of your leg and the toes, you notice I'm pedaling, okay? Little cracks and pops, that's normal. And, I could lift both heels. That's different. I could even bend my knees a little bit and do it too. It's different. Another nice little thing here, get your heels as far as you can to the floor and then bend your knees. So that's very different as well. So if you remember that when I bend the knee versus when I keep it straight, you get a very different stretch through your hamstrings, your lower back, and your ankles and your feet. So always good to remember that. It seems like
That might go under the radar, but remember that. That's important. Now, last dynamic exercise. If you want to do chaturangas, that's fine. Easy version would be here, kind of dropping towards child pose, coming forward towards cobra pose. Now, this might be a little too much, you know. I get it. Some days the body needs easier, right? So if that's too much, you can take a few of these. As long as it's in the same plane, think about this as like the bridge almost. And then you come back here, you take a few breaths in child pose. If you're feeling good, you could go circular motions. Okay, big circular motions, right? And then you know, if you're feeling really good, you're kind of more up here, right? So your legs kind of hover. Hips forward and down, chest up and back. The opposite, hips up and back, chest more down and back. Chest forward and up, chest down and back. Hips forward and down, hips up and back. So that's that kind of opposing position. Yeah, you know, we want to get a lot of blood flow, move that energy. Remember, one of the main kind of things we're working on in yoga is optimizing the energy of the body. The yogis call it Kundalini and Shakti and Prana, chakras, energy centers. And, you know, in modern, the blood is moving the oxygen and fueling the cell with the nutrients. So, you know, both kind of the ancient and the modern agree there that they're both doing that. All right, guys, so we're going to take our first big stretch. You might want your blocks. This will be a 3-part stretch. It will be a little bit longer, okay? Anjayanasana tonight. So I want to go big hip flexor stretch. On our back, we did a lot of this back stretching here. So I want to hit that hip flexor. So right foot is going to step forward. Now, you don't need blocks really, yogis, but it's really good if you have them because they take a little pressure out of the hips and the back. Just notice. Look at, I don't want to be here. Watch the back knee, crawls back. Okay? And then I use my hands, see this? To kind of lift my chest. So this is called the Anjayanasana. In modern terms, maybe like a low knee, runner's lunge. I do want to activate by pressing my feet down. That's key, guys. Press my feet down, lift my chest. Okay? If you feel good and you want it to go big, you could go right arm up, maybe even both arms up, but we still got a few more breaths and 2 more parts. So that's a lot more weight. So we're here, letting our hips kind of descend a little bit forward and down, pressing our feet down, and lifting the chest and heart up away, shoulders back and down. Now, a little bit more. See if we can. All. Now just reach our left arm up, and we're going to go a side bend. So we didn't really do much side bending yet, so it's a big coronal movement. The side bend, as the hips lengthen through the front, I also traction the psoas laterally, so up and away. If left arm is back, left arm goes up and over. Actually, I'm going to do a 2-part stretch. So this is the second part. We'll do the third part a different way. Okay, now I want you to take your time. It's a big stretch. I'll teach a little bit more towards beginners. Left hand down and reach hips back, shake it out. Now, after that, it is always good to do a little neutralizer, maybe just kind of sitting on your heels, kind of leaning back might feel good, to get into the shins and the ankles if it feels okay. We do a lot of sitting on the feet in yoga. It's very difficult initially. Keep working though. When I started yoga, I couldn't do it at all. Now it's just very easy. So keep working. Notice I am lifting the knees a little bit. Big front knee stretch. We've done this one before as well, where we hold, block there, but we'll keep going. Get off of those feet, guys. Shake those hips out. Second side is left foot forward, right knee foot crawl back. We're going to try to stay in it. It's good for maybe like 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, right? So take your time getting in, set it up. Something I didn't mention here is where a yoga blanket could come in. Now try to crawl the back foot back and pull the chest forward and up. Away. So it's just kind of like straight up the middle for now. More would be to reach your right arm or left arm high, just so you have a little support here still on this side. Okay. Now I just want to show you, if you have really tight hip flexors, something you can do is roll up a yoga blanket. Now I'm unfolding the whole thing. Doing the opposite of what I wanted to do. So I roll up the blanket kind of thin, and then see how I kind of stick it in that hip crease? And it's kind of like, oh yeah, see that was pinching a little. It creates a little space there between that abdomen on the thigh. Again, back foot crawls back. I'm here. And if you want to try our second part, this is where your right hand goes up. So you can't really see it. It's a lateral movement, a side bend. So I'm in that side bend, but you can't see. If I turn to the front, you can see it. That's what makes it more of that kind of, that's how you know in the upper and in the spine, it's coronal, right? But I want to really reach up, guys. That's a really big hip flexor stretch, guys. You're going to slowly come out of the position. Another neutralizing cat-cow, chaturanga would be good. A little kind of forward and back. A little twist here might feel good. And let's just do a subtle stretch quick before we go any further with the bigger muscles. I want you to think wrists. If there's another wrist stretch crawling to you, I'll do one for now. I'm going to do the back of the wrist here, yogis. Okay? This tends to be quite intense, so maybe one hand at a time. Now up close, if my bottom hand was the floor, you see that? Look how the palm is face up, facing the body. All right? So it might be very intense. So be easy. Keep weight in your opposite hand. If it's way too tough, hand closer to knee. If it's easy, your arm can go more forward. Okay, work on straightening your elbow, rolling the crease of the elbow forward. It's just like down dog plank where we say roll that upper tricep, outer tricep down and under, and then roll the bicep and elbow crease forward. Okay, and you shake that wrist out, give it a little wiggle, give it a moment of intuition. Second side. It's an important stretch if you're doing a lot of yoga. You know, the wrist is always in what we call it this hyperextension, like flexion action. So it's good to kind of get a little length there if you're getting some compression in the back of the wrist. But that's probably the wrist stretch I do the most, you know, with the rotational quality. So you're getting that kind of supination, pronation as well through the forearm a little bit. It's a really good one to do regularly, guys. All right, so you're gonna shake that out, please. And we're going to swing it around. We'll do one more forward bend here because Anjaneyasana was more of the back bend. Our spine was more an anterior tilt and extension. So I want to go over that forward bend now with the straddle. All right. You guys know this one of my favorite stretches. I'm not going to teach it fancy. It's our longest hold so far. And I'm going to reach it right down the middle, and you're going to try to relax now. So notice I do create some setup. If I'm very tight here, what happens, yogis, is someone who's pretty tight in it tends to have trouble straightening their knees. They also they're like this more. So I'm on the back of my sit bones, a newer person, right? A tighter person. And what I'm trying to do is actually, even if I have to bend my knees, try to go forward onto the more front of your sit bones. Or like the top, the bottom or front even of the sit bones. From there, I try to straighten my legs a little bit more and flex my feet. And from there, I start to go a little forward. But again, this idea of coming onto the front of the sit bones and lifting the heart. That's like really the first priority, even if you have to bend your knees, all right? And then you can start to walk your hands forward. If you have a bolster and blocks, you want to like throw that stuff in there. Kind of rest on your props. Notice the props underneath my abdomen as much as they are my chest. Let's go about another 2 minutes here, guys. Close your eyes. Come on, settle into this one. I will be right back, Yogi. Sorry, I'm on puppy duty and she's going nuts. I'll be right back. I got it on the timer. Last 20 seconds, guys. All right, now listen here, guys. We're gonna slowly start to make our way up. After a nice long hold, you want to shake it out a little bit. And I am gonna mix back in a little dynamics. So in this one, we're kind of like this, right? So now what we're gonna work in is a movement here where the legs go back and across. So you can kind of see the play on the counter movement, okay? So we're gonna swing it around, yogis, and lay on our chest here. And we're gonna bring our arms wide, okay? So we're laying on our chest now. Listen, a little easier is arms straight at the T, capital letter T. Little bit more would be arms bent, kind of like the field goal post we did earlier. Earlier when I brought the knee across the body in front, now we're going across the body in the back. They call it like a scorpion. I roll to my right a little, my left leg reaches behind me. I slowly massage my body back. I roll to my left, my right leg goes up and behind me. So if you needed to see it from another angle, you're here, kind of like that, and then you're here, okay? So we're on our chest, kind of rolling side to side, reaching the opposite leg to the opposite arm behind us. So that you can see this is kind of a little thing we're working on this evening. Yogis, try to notice how the neck is doing. Don't stress your neck out in a lot of kind of unconscious ways. You know, we're releasing parts of the body, but then we might be tensing certain parts. We don't want to do that. We're not really going anywhere. We want to, it's kind of like food or, you know, you got to get rid of the bad stuff first before you add the good stuff. So being aware of where we're not being efficient in the body, in a sense, is more important than doing a good stretch or movement right, okay? Hope that makes sense. All right, guys, so I want you to finish that up. It's just a dynamic movement. Remember, that just means movement side to side. I'm not having you hold tonight. You're more than welcome to if you would like. Neck stretch. Left ear down, big toes touch, heels fall apart. So that is a bilateral medial rotation, okay? And then arms down by sides, palms face up. Left ear, cheekbone on the mat. And I really just want you to lay heavy. Close your eyes. See if you can reach your feet, your hands a little bit more toward your feet, and then relax your arms. So shoulders are far down. Notice if your chin is tucked toward your shoulder, just lift it away a little bit and then relax again. Now don't change anything except slowly turn your second ear cheekbone down. Right ear cheekbone, again, nice long neck, relaxed body. Rest. Now listen, third part. If this is really tough on you, you could bring your hands up under your shoulders, but it's the chin forward. So look, it's like I'm looking forward. I rest my chin down. You might want to softly just clench your jaw, just to not strain the neck here. The chin is forward. All right, Yogi. So I got one more thing here on the chest. Working in some subtle things tonight. This is for your arms. You got to listen closely. It's not easy. You got to turn your lips down. So see, my face turns down. My palms turn down. Now watch what I do. I tuck my toes. I kind of lift my hips. I roll to the left. I walk my right hand under my body. My palms are down. The front elbow crease is down. This is a compression stretch. We have not done one in this class in the 3 to 4 months we've been doing it. So I roll back to my right. I try to walk my left arm under my body. Okay? So it is a big lateral rotation. So let me show you. You are laying on your chest. If you want to do chin forward, you can. You are laying on your chest and your arms are under your body like this. If you get tingling and numbness and a little pain, that's totally normal. You are laying on your arms like this in compression stretch. I remember when I started this, very difficult. Okay? Eventually your pinkies will touch, and then you just lay. I like it a little bit more with the chin forward. I did turn an ear down just to give my neck a break. If you're confused, sometimes this stuff is hard to describe and see in the Zoom. No worries. Who cares if you mess it up or, that's fine, guys. Now listen, I want to carefully roll side to side and release those arms. Nice job. We're going to eventually take it back to child pose. That was a big neck rotation, so that's the spinal rotation. Okay, so take a moment just to kind of, let your lower back go to your heels. Your hips go to your heels. All right, guys, so our inner thighs, we did the angled posture in the beginning with the straight leg straddle. We're done. We'll get one more hamstring in later. I want to do that peak front body stretch now before it gets too late. Class is flying by. My favorite one is the Virasana. We already kind of did a warm-up where we're here. I'm going to teach the true Virasana. It's the meter rotation tonight. I tend to teach this reclining child pose. So if I give you a quick demo of the two variations I'm mentioning, here I'm sitting on my heels with my knees wide, and then I start to go back. The further I go back, notice I kind of adjust my hips in relation to my heels, because the hips, initially your heels are kind of tucked under your butt, and as you go further back, you got to kind of lift your butt and move your heels more in the posterior glute. But the one I'm going to teach you guys is where the knees go together. and you widen your feet. So it's a really big knee bend. All right, so it's like a hyper knee flexion. Notice my feet are like right outside my hips. There's like no space. Notice my feet are also pointing behind me, not out. My pinky toe is on the floor. From here, with my knees can go back hips width distance, but not like that. Okay? Ideally, they're more together. And now from here, you go backward. Now, initially, you got to sit on a block, right? With practice, you're here. Here, you can lay on your bolster. Maybe. Hey, don't force this guy. Big stretch now. Big stretch. Notice my back is arched. Arms can cross above the forehead. A meditation. Another minute or so, please.
Remember, if you're new to this stuff, guys, it's good to kind of give your body a small dose to start. You don't want to go like too much into tension, strain, or compression. So it's all right to be kind to your body. It's when in doubt, that's probably a better choice than error on the side of caution as opposed to just being like careless about it. And we want to practice again from that kind of intuitive self-care approach as opposed to kind of like that ego maybe approach. All right.
So listen, guys, that's a nice job there. So we're going to slowly make our way up. Shake it out here. I planned too much for class, but we're going to get through most of it here. I'm going to switch it up a little from my original plan. And we're just going to do that hamstring stretch right here. Half splits. If you want to lay on your back and do like a strap stretching, that's fine. I am going to do a couple options in our half splits. So I'm going to use my blocks because it just makes this all easier. It's kind of like the Anjaneyasana. So I'm going to step my right foot forward, and then I'm going to straighten my front leg. Notice that same thing. If my back knee is too far forward, I try to straighten and I go here. Now that is a version, right, of this. But what I'm trying to do is crawl that back knee back. So when I straighten my front leg, my hips are over my back knee. My back foot presses down. My front heel presses down. My right hip has to go back and down a little bit. So I take this kind of, lateral tilt and hip swivel kind of back. And then I press my right heel down and go forward. Now, someone who's going big here might want to go to full split. You notice what happened? Nothing changed except like my front heel slid forward. So my chest is kind of coming upright more, right? And I'm trying to breathe here. A nice variation is to throw your block right underneath the hip. And then I'm just hanging here, meditating. If you're in half split and you'd like to have a little bit more of a creative approach, watch my front leg. I might back up a little. I kind of roll my right toes out. So the front leg laterally, externally rotates. And then the right front toe turns in. There's that medial. So I take a hyper range and I start to rotate a little bit. Don't forget that front knee can be bent. Okay? If you want one more nice option here, left hand inside on the floor, on the shin. And what's going to happen is I got to stabilize, push through my left hand, right foot, left foot, and my right arm goes kind of out and up. So I add the twist. If you're in full split, it's different, but you're here. Notice my chest. The arms are like side planks, stacked. My spine is long. My right hip goes down and back a little. Last 3 breaths. So remember, if my right leg is forward, I'm twisting to the right. But if you want to do the other one too, that's fine as well. But we already did the straddle, so I'll skip that. All right. Now go slow. Right hand down. Right knee bend. If you're in full split, go slow. Shake it out, yogis. A little neutralizer again is something like this, cat-cow. Even shaking it out a little bit. As you can see, it's kind of like peak stretches. We just did the Vera lean back, and now the half split or full split with twist. Second side, guys. Feet flex. Press feet down, hip over back knee. Remember that? What happens in all yoga poses, whether it's like warrior 3, notice the leg, whatever leg actively is like in position, takes the hip with it. So in warrior 3, you have to drop it down because the leg lifts up. But since I bring the leg in front of me, it wants to take the hip up and forward. So the left hip here has to come back and down. So if you can kind of learn to see that and how that plays in all poses, it really kind of exposes a lot of kind of just tendencies of compensation and they call it like a tension pull. Left hip back, forward fold. Some of us, full splits, maybe block. Your front knee can be bent as well in full splits. Does not need to be straight. Okay, you can work on straightening. Look, straighten, bend, straighten, bend. And we've done that before in some of the big yoga classes. The strong power.
Come on, let's breathe, guys. If you're in half splits and you did some little rotational work, you might want to lift your chest a little bit, and your left toes kind of turn out externally. You kind of feel that space, flex the foot a little. You can always play with the ankle, you know, flexing and pointing a little, and even like supinating, pronating in the foot. And then you might bring the toe, if you're doing it internal rotation, that's gonna switch up a lot, you know, a little subtle change like that. And then the last part is that twist. So remember, your spine is nice and long. The right hand would push down on the floor of the block, and from your core, you twist to the left across that left thigh. Remember, your left hip has to go back and down. You press the front heel down. As you twist, your left arm might reach out and up. You're kind of spreading the chest here. I said in the beginning, we do a lot of that. We've had the arms like this about, you know, many times already this evening. Drop that left hip though. Nice, DJ. It's a big stretch, man. That's part of that like coil series, you know, where we're asymmetrical legs and we're like extending, rotating. It's a really huge stretch. Okay, we're gonna take the top hand down, guys. Nice hold there. You're gonna bend the front knee. You're gonna shake it out. All right, so let's keep going here. This is a hip and a shoulder stretch, very traditional yoga, the Gomukhasana. So I'm not going to do the pigeon or the Sukhasana, the double pigeon fire log. If you want to do that, that is fine. Any hip stretch for the outer hips is totally fine with me if something's calling to you. But I want a little variation that we do less of. If you have a strap or a towel, you might have it handy, or a t-shirt works. So Gomukhasana, if you can't do Gomukhasana, quick demo, I mentioned Sukhasana, the crossing of the shins. Notice the feet are out, flexed. I sit up and I forward fold. That's a nice variation. Laying on your back for the figure 4 also works. Now watch what I do. If you want to Gomukhasana, gotta listen, right heel outside left knee. Left heel swings around to the right. So my outer left shin and thigh are down. I got to bring my right sit bone down inside my left heel. So what happens is my thighs are trying to cross and my knees more stack forward. I take my hands to my feet, pull the feet back.
And I'm still adjusting here, okay? I feel a big stretch already, okay? I might just want to breathe here. I feel this a lot right now. If it's easy, you can sit up tall, both sit bones are on the floor. Yes, you can sit on a block. We're going to forward fold for the Gomukhasana compression. I do have one last option. If Gomukhasana legs is somewhat okay to do, you could take your strap in your left hand or whatever prop you're using. You're going to reach it up. You're going to reach that arm, bend it. Look at the elbow. I want it to try to hug in a little bit more. Actively reach it back. Drape that strap down my spine. And my right hand will reach down, kind of out behind me. So palm face behind, elbow bends, and I grab the strap. I walk the hands up, kind of to get, a nice kind of firmer grip. Elbows in, lift the chest. And then there's my full Gomukhasana. A few more breaths, please. If it's too much, it's okay. This is a big pose. This is a lot more just approachable. Okay, very similar though. You're just crossing your shins, not your thighs. If that's all seems too much, your back hurts, get your spine nice and supported by the floor. We do this one a lot in my class, all right? So here's my easiest version. Well, easiest would probably be something like this, actually. You can even put your foot on the wall like this, okay? Not even pull. So what you're gonna do here, guys, is when you feel content with this position, you're gonna shake your arms out a little bit. Release your legs, shake your legs out a little bit. I really feel this stretch like up in the hip joint a lot more, and even in the lower back more, as opposed to pigeon or Sukhasana. So it's good to remember this one and throw it in, okay? Second side, please. So your left heel has to go outside your right knee. Your right knee bends and your right heel swings around under to the left, so the outer right shin and thigh are down. From there, you gotta try to get your sit bone down inside that right heel. Use your hands, pull them back, lift your chest, and kind of adjust, so you're crossing your thigh. So say you're kind of like this, it starts kind of like this, and if this was my knees, you kind of merge them closer together like that, right? So I'm like this. If that makes any sense. Okay, we sit up nice and tall here, trying to hold this a little bit longer. Some of us start to compress, going forward. Eventually in poses, we want to commit to not fidgeting. I know that's a lot easier said than done. If it's easy, sit up, right hand grab strap, reaches down, elbow in, left arm out, palm face behind me, reach behind, grab the strap. So remember, guys, the body looks like this, in case you were confused, right? The first arm had the strap, second arm went down, and they kind of go toward each other here, right? Elbows hug in, so I'm not here. We're here. Elbows in, okay? And then you go forward even with the shoulder bind for the full pose. You can see it's basically, could say the biggest stretch of class. Sorry, just running through the body to see if we missed anything crucial. I think we did pretty good. Not too much arm across the body, not too much lat. And when you're done there, I didn't keep track of time there. You just do your thing. If this side's tighter, you would recommend staying longer. If the first side was tighter, it's good to always remember all that, the imbalances, and kind of apply the practice accordingly, stretching the tighter side a little bit more and strengthening the weaker side a little bit more. Okay, so listen, guys, I noticed we're already at the end of class here, so I'm going to give a last couple of options. If you wanted to lay on your back and take a nice supported bridge pose, you can't really beat that. It's so good here. The more we can kind of stretch the hip flexors, Get a little kind of push into our sacrum, always feels great. Another big option here, guys, if you want to finish really big, it would be the plow pose. Okay, so we did a forward bend to touch our toes. This one is going to be more like our posterior spine, let's say. So a big spinal flexion. Arms are going to go down. And I slowly use my core, my arms to lift those legs. Don't look at the screen in this pose. Okay, try to keep your head back, your head down. Hands on the lower back, hips, supporting, breathing, working slowly, feet toward the floor, behind the head. Now, you want to go slow. If you ever have to exit, notice early and release slow. Some other last options could be one more spinal twist if you feel like you need it, or a hip opener. So a nice hip opener here could be something like this that we really didn't cover as much. We did a medial, but it's not this extreme. So I'm on my back here. You guys know I like to give you free time. One last neck option here could be a neck posterior traction. So notice I take the block in like the medium height, and it's kind of right at my occipital bones. Think of like a body worker, kind of gripping underneath the bottom of your skull, kind of pulling the neck up and back, and almost kind of pushing your chin to your chest slightly. Right? I actually really like to do it like this with the top level. But when I do it like this, you know, I either have to hold the block because it'll slip, see it? But the real way I do this is up against the wall. So I put my block on the highest setting. I get that block strategically placed into the base of the skull. And then there it is. Ooh, that's pretty big. All right, and can you take a few breaths? I gave you a few options. One last stretch of choice, please. And a quick announcement before I forget. Remember, Wednesday evenings are rotating style of practice. This week, last 2 weeks, we did yoga sculpt, adding a lightweight training into our yoga practice. Really important to make sure we're doing a little bit of extra weights here and there. This week is a special style. I did it once. It was maybe October. It's called fast twitch exercise. So it's going to be unique, guys. You know, I want you to understand the role fast twitch plays, and we don't do enough of it in yoga. Think of just healthy, like really small, faster movements. So let me give you just a quick demo, like how we might start practice. You know, it's something like this, right? And then it's something like this, then it's something like this. You know, it's like little fast movements. We can still make it yoga. Our intention is self-awareness and connection and maintenance of this body physically. We can still work breath and concentration and positive intentions. So special class, when you see it go out, I'm going to call it Hatha Fast Twitch practice. So it's going to be good, 5:30 on Wednesday. All right. So listen, guys, let's close up with our final pose here. Just a short meditation. Traditionally, I have you lay on the back. We did some big stretches tonight. If you feel like you want to sit and meditate or lay on a prop or legs up the wall too, that's okay. Just something where you can kind of feel good, calm your nerves, and really slow your heart rate. And just close your eyes now and like relax your abdomen. See if you can relax your jaw, your tongue. Even your eyes relax so much they fall to the back of the eye socket. Final pose here. Just take about another 2 or 3 minutes.